Hello everyone, welcome to another live match with the Average Angler. Today we're at Acorn Fishery again. We've got ourselves on a Tuesday midweek affordable open and we are drawn peg 31, which isn't a fantastic draw, it's in a bit of a dead end. Can be a few fish here, but it's not normally a peg that you would consider as a framing opportunity. But I'm here with the cameras today, so let's just see how we get on and what we can do from this average peg. All in has just sounded. Initial feed going in now. This is like a nice little big pinch, I'd call that, of maggots. That's going out onto my main line, or what I'm hoping is going to be my main line of attack. So I've got a rig set up straight in front of me at 12 o'clock in the deep water at the bottom of the far shelf. It's about 6 foot deep there, and I'm just putting a little bit of bait on that spot to start me off. What I've managed to do today is I've managed to set up, I've managed to fish like 5 areas of the swim with 2 rigs. So I've got basically 2 rigs, a 6 foot rig and a 3 foot rig, and I'm just feeding there where I'm hoping to catch a lot of fish from with the 6 foot rig with maggots. Now I'm about to feed another line which is also a 6 foot line slightly to the left. I'm just putting a little nugget of ground bait in, there he goes, and a little pinch of pellets and a little pinch of pinkies, I believe, if I remember right. Yeah, there we go, and that's going same depth of water, slightly to the left, not quite so tight to the far bank slope, but sort of in the open water. And that's my initial feed to start with. Now this 6 foot rig, I've also plumbed it down to my right where there's an empty platform, and I'm able to fish down there with the same rig at the bottom of the platform for peg number 30, just at the bottom of the slope there. And then I've also got a 3 foot rig, which I think I start on. We'll have a look in a minute, but I think I'll start on that in a second. So the 3 foot rig is for halfway up the slope. Again, at 12 o'clock, halfway up the slope, there's a flattish spot, which is about 3 foot deep. And then also a top kitten 1 down to my left. There's also a nice spot there that I can fish the same rig, same depth. So that's my 5 lines. There I am. Look, just picked up the 3 foot rig there, and I'm going to go out. And with the 3 foot rig, I've got a little kinder pot on the end of the pole there, and I shall just tap in some maggots. Here I go now, probably topping it up with some maggots. And then we'll go out, tap some maggots in and see how we get on. Now, for those of you that haven't realised yet, I am voicing over the video today, and that is because sadly I had some issues with sound when I got back home and checked my footage out. It seems like I've had an issue with my microphone, and I've not really recorded any quality sound, so I thought I'd do it this way. Now, I knew I hadn't drawn so well in this spot, so my rigs were little Chianti floats, 4x12s I think, and this particular rig's got a nice little strung out shotting pattern on it so that the rig falls in slowly up against the slope. Now, I've not fished Acorn for a couple of weeks because I've been away on holiday, and so the last time I fished it I did catch quite well in the 3 foot swim. But obviously there's been a bit of cold weather and I wasn't sure whether or not today that was going to be the case. But I thought, well, I'll start there, I can tap in some maggots and just see how we get on. So that's what I've done. I've just got a little chanting. Luckily for me, the wind is really calm in my spot. As you can see, it's like a mirror there. So although I'm not happy with my draw, I am happy with the weather conditions because it's enabling me to really dot that float down. I'm aware that I'm not on a flyer, so I need to think about having a mixed bag. So having the float dotted right down, and I'm fishing light elastics and light up length. I'm on an 010 to an 18, and I will go down to 09 to a 20 if I need to, just to try and catch anything that swims. Since the revamp, Acorn now has got really good head of quality sort of silvers, so you can catch quality silvers as well as little carp. There's a lot of small carp, and I was just hoping to put a run of fish together really, but I was thinking if I'm going to frame today, I'm more likely to pick up money from the silvers pool because I feel like the pegs down at the other end, sort of 5, 9, 11, 13, 12 and 13, those pegs have been dominating in the last few weeks looking at the results. So I've got my work cut out, but I'm thinking let's go for mixed bag, see what we can do. Right then, 1 hour update. We've got a couple of small carp, 2 roach and 2 skimmers. So we're ticking over okay for the start of the match, and pretty much what I expected from this area. I'm actually fishing in the 6 foot line at the moment. I've dropped down from the 3 foot line because all I could really catch up there with a roach. And when I've dropped down to the 6 foot into the deeper water, that's where I've picked up the carp and the skimmers. So what I'm doing is I'm fishing this line till I get a fish, or giving it sort of 5 or 6 minutes. And then, there we are, I've just hooked a fish there. And then once I have caught a fish from this line, which is what I, as you can see I'm doing now, then when I go out the next time, I actually go over the ground bait line. So it's the same rig in the 6 foot of water, but I go straight over the ground bait line. So what I'm trying to do is avoid plundering one line for too long. And this enables me to hopefully try to make the fish that are on the lines last as long as possible. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on them because, like I've said already, I'm not in a favourable area, and down here in this dead end I don't feel like I can draw a lot of fish from both sides. I've got to be careful. If I push the fish out of this dead end, then I'm in a lot of trouble because I'm not going to get fish from anywhere else. So if you watch me here now, you'll probably see that I'll ship out and I'll just go slightly to the left, and that'll be me fishing in the 6 foot ground bait line. I've been catching so far on a single pinky, so yeah, there we are, little single pinky, and that seems to be the best bait at the moment. And just pushing out, just putting that on. I think this rig's just a bulk and one dropper, so it's nice and positive, and that's what we've been doing. Now something else that's important is what we're doing now, which is pinging bait. So I found that my maggot line has responded better to a little bit of bait catapulted in. I'm not catapulting bait over the ground bait line. I'm leaving that purely as a sort of pot fed or ground bait ball fed line, just to see the difference in how the fish are responding, just so that I can try and work out what is the right thing to do on the day. 5 minutes on the ground bait line, no real indications or anything, so just a case then of just dragging the rig back over and putting it back into the back onto the maggot line and just seeing what we get. It took about 2 minutes, and then eventually I think we do hook something over this line. And I'm starting to feel like the maggot line is definitely producing better than the ground bait line. And obviously I've got to think about whether I want to top up the ground bait line and what I want to top it up with. But at the moment, I do feel like it is just a little bit quicker on this line that I'm on now than it is on the ground bait line. But I'm still going to keep alternating between the two because it's the right thing to do. So in order to keep the pressure off this line. There we are, there's a nice little tench. It's one of the first ones that I've had today. They're very welcome. Like I say, silvers could play a big part for me in this event today. So I'm happy because tench are little weight builders, and there's tench of all sizes in Acorn. And if you've got tench in your swim, you can build a weight of silvers quite easily because they're some of the better quality silvers that put a bit of weight in your net. So we're still on the single pinky. And we're just shipping out. Oh, not shipping out, sorry, we've got to do our pinging. So just pinging some bait over that line. But I'm not fishing that line. I'm coming over to the ground bait line. Now it's important to note that if we're talking about the line with the maggots now, the line where the maggots are being fed is 6 foot deep. But also just behind that line is my 3 foot deep line. It's literally half a section up between the 6 foot line and the 3 foot line. So when I'm pinging those maggots over the 6 foot line, I'm also sort of topping up the 3 foot line. And that's really good to know because then I haven't got to keep putting bait over the 3 foot line if I want to drop back on it. So there we are, we've hooked one over the ground bait line. We did have to wait a little bit longer. Obviously I've cut all that out so you don't want me to sit there watching me holding a pole for 7 or 8 minutes until we get a bite. But we have eventually had one over the ground bait line again, and I think it's a skimmer, I'm not sure. But it's definitely apparent now that the loose fed maggot line is going to be a better line than the ground bait line today. And so that's something that I can use to my advantage because I've got another line that I want to set up down to my right, down to that platform in the deep water with the same rig. And so I need to think about how I'm going to fish that. So what I decided to do is right, it's going to be a maggot day. And this is me now, just feeding that line. I put a fair bit of bait in there in the pot because I'm expecting not to go on this line till the last hour if I can. if I can keep these other lines, these other 3 lines in front of me, ticking over, then I don't need to go down to this line. And this will be a sort of finale, or a nice finish if I can. That's my thinking at this point. Obviously, reality might not pan out like that, but that's what that's how you have to work. So here we are. We've picked up the 3-foot rig, and as it says on the screen there, I do use a maggot on this line at the moment because I feel like this is my best chance of a bigger fish, this line, because it's a bit shallower. I feel like, and I'm tapping in like a sort of tighter parcel of maggots. I feel like that's more likely to attract a carp. So I do continue to just keep feeding that with the kinder pot, but also I'm still pinging. And I will start to ping over that line that I've just fed to the right as well as the match wears on. There we are. I've just skipped a piece out for you so you don't have to wait. And we've hooked something on that 3-foot line. And I'm pretty sure it'll be a roach. I was hooking quite a lot of roach on that line on the day. For whatever reason, they likes to be in that slightly shallower water. As I said, that was a nice roach that we had there. And the roach in Acorn are a good stamp, so they're not too bad to catch. But obviously you want to be able to keep them coming if you're going to catch them. What I found on this line was that I could get 1 or 2, sometimes 3, and then I wouldn't get any more. Just going to leave this little bit running for you now, just so you can see a nice quality roach coming up soon from this line. Right, we're at the 2-hour mark in the match now. Just feeding me 2 lines with the catapults, and this was the routine that I got into. Every time I shipped back, I'd make sure I pinged a small amount of maggots onto each line. So I'm not feeding heavily, but just keeping the 2 lines sort of alive. Because it felt like on the day, if you didn't ping maggots, you couldn't get bites, even on the lines where you'd fed maggots through a pot or through a kinder pot or over a big pot. I'm just going to ship out now, and I'm having a look over the ground bait line on this particular put. I've got a few silvers in the net at this point, and maybe £5 a carp. So on my clicker I've got £5 a carp, but I do feel like I'm a little bit off the pace. So things have slowed down somewhat from how they were earlier. And obviously I'm expecting at this point that, the guys on the flyer pegs are going to be in the sort of £70 to £90 bracket. And I've got really £5 of silvers. Sorry, £5 a carp and maybe £5 of silver. It's hard for me to guess. So over the ground bait line there, and I spent 5 minutes on it again with no luck. So I have topped up the ground bait line with a very small amount of bait during the last hour, and what it seems to have done is totally killed the area, and I did find it very difficult to get bites over that line anymore. So I went over onto my 6-foot line, but like I was saying, even that line was slowing down, and so then I was forced to go up into the 3-foot line again and have a look to see whether or not we can catch anything up in the 3-foot of water, because at the moment I'm looking to sort of rotate 2 swims and keep things going, and all 3 of my swims are kind of devoid of fish. So I'm getting to the point in the match now I'm thinking this is what I was expected. You sort of get an early bit of fish in this area, and then you start to exhaust the fish that are available for you to catch. I'm having a good look around there. I was looking around quite a lot throughout the match. I never really saw anybody bagging up, but I was so far away from the flyer pegs that, you can never be sure. So here we go, back on the maggot again, because we're on the 3-foot line, and I'm feeding through the kinder pot. That's how you know we're on the 3-foot line. And we'll go out and have a look, see if we can get something on there. But I am looking at this point. I'm sitting thinking, right, where's my next run of fish coming from? Because I'm really resisting the temptation, which is building for me to go onto this line I'm feeding here. But I know the longer I can leave that line, the better it's going to be for me. And I want to collect fish there so that I can have, when I get onto that line, I want to be plundering it. I don't want to be alternating lines. I want to go on there and have a good run of fish off it. So let's just see how long it takes us to get a bite on the 3-foot line. And there we are, we've hooked something, and it's a roach again. Like I said before, this line has definitely been where the roach have been happy to settle. I don't think I can remember catching a roach off the other lines in the deeper water. They only ever caught them from the 3-foot lines. But at this point, as you just see, I'm not getting bites anywhere else. I'm happy just to have another little look, see if we can get another roach. We'll see if we can get anything, because we're putting weight in the net, and I'm more and more and more as this match progresses, my mind is thinking silvers is my best chance, because like I've just said, I'm a couple of hours into this match now and I've only got £5 of carp, so realistically I'm not going to be able to achieve the £70 to £90, which I feel like is what's going to be needed to win today, because that's how much has been needed to win in recent matches. So we back out straight on this line, hoping to see if we can get another roach or something, but it took quite a while. I didn't get an indication. I was out there for 5 minutes or so, and I was thinking, maybe that's it, maybe I'm in real trouble now. And then suddenly I got a bite, which was nice. And then I realised very quickly, hang on, this is not a roach. Maybe maybe we're going to get a run of carp now. Some better fish have moved in, and this was definitely not a roach. And I was thinking, this is a carp or a big tench. I'm not sure what else it could possibly be. And so I was quite happy, because obviously I've not put much weight in the net for the sort of last 30 minutes or so, and I'm starting to feel like the match is getting away from me, so any sort of thing I can hook is great. This turned out to be a rogue carp. Next put in, I did catch a roach, and the carp gave me license to stay on this line for a bit longer and just give it a bit of time, which is what I did. I stayed on this line a bit longer after I had this carp, trying to make something happen. But in the meantime, while I'm on there trying to see if I can get a run of carp, I'm still pinging on the other lines and sort of hoping that they're going to recover and come back a bit. So I'll just let the video run out. You can watch me land this carp, and then we'll get back to what happens after that in a bit. So we're at the 3 hour mark now, and as I'd already mentioned, the 3 foot line just hadn't produced any more better fish. But over time, this 6 foot line on the Maggot did start to get me a nice little run of sort of mixed fish. And the 3 foot line and the ground bait line just seemed devoid of fish, and I was finding it harder and harder and harder to catch anything from those areas. So I just had to sort of stick with these 6 foot deep line straight in front of me. But obviously, I'm aware that I've still got a couple of hours of fishing to go. I'm 3 hours in, I've got 2 more hours to go. It's a 5 hour match, and I can't rely on this line to keep me going till the end of the match. So I'm really now hoping that the line down to my right, which I've been pinging on, is going to become viable, as in I'm going to get bites when I do go on it. Because if I don't get bites when I do go on it, then I think what's going to happen is slowly this line in front of me is just going to dwindle away, and I'm going to finish the match with a whimper, really. The previous hour, I felt like things were starting to get away from me, and this hour I feel like things were starting to come back in my favour. Now, obviously, I can't see what everybody else is doing, and I'm still assuming that the guys at the other end of the lake on the flyer pegs are emptying it, and that I'm really only fishing for silvers. So I'm taking the carp as they come, obviously, and I'm not, I'm taking whatever I can, because you never know what could happen. You could catch a few carp and then a few silvers and get in the overall frame. But really, my mind is, can I catch silvers and get in the silver frame? So moving into the final hour, I thought I'd switch the cameras back on. Sadly, one of my cameras wasn't working, so I've only got chest camera footage from here on in. I've been on that line down to my right for about 15 minutes. I went on it with about an hour and 15 minutes to go, and I was well happy to find that literally 5 puts in a row, I had 5 fish out of there, and they were sort of nice quality silvers and little carp mixed in. I was getting tench down there, which was good, and so I just kept on trying to catch from down there. I thought what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of footage together here for you with a bit of music, so you can watch me landing a few of the better fish that were from down there. I alternated between the right hand line and the line straight across in front of me, because obviously the beauty of being able to fish this right hand line meant that I could rest the main line, as we call it, where the maggots, where I've caught from most of the day. I could give that a rest, and then when I did drop on it, I'd get bites quicker. So as soon as the line down to the right didn't give me a bite within sort of 2 or 3 minutes, I would just rest it, go straight across and catch. So I had a really, really good last hour, just steadily plodding away and dropping weight into the net. I had no idea how I'd done in the match overall at this point. I was just sticking with it. A switch to the single maggot on the hook was definitely helped as well. On both lines, I'd been performing the last sort of hour and a half on the single maggot. It had gone really, really well. And I don't know whether that had been a factor, whether the pinky wasn't right, or whether it was, probably made no difference at all. A lot of these things are in your head. So I'll leave you with a bit of music and a bit of footage for a few minutes, and you can watch me land a few of these fish, and then I'll come back to you at the end for match results and conclusions. This is the last fish that I caught on the day. Just managed to land him before the whistle went in. I was thinking all the time I was playing this fish that it was a carp, but actually it's a real nice bonus tench, so keep watching and you'll see him pop up in a sec. I was on the scales on the day. I'd drawn the scales because I was NPEG and I was first to weigh in, so I was really happy when I weighed £22 and 12 ounces of silvers, because I felt like that was almost certainly going to win me the silvers, which it did. And I also added £33 and 4 ounces of carp for a total of £57 dead, which was amazing because I actually won the match. The lake had fished hard on the day, and that probably did me a favour. The guys on the flyer pegs hadn't had it easy with the wind, and the fish just hadn't fed as well as they have been feeding. And so my sort of catch anything approach had worked out on the day. So I was over the moon with that, because at the draw, I really genuinely felt like my chances of getting an overall frame in place was 0. So I was well happy. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Keep your eyes out for the next live match or any other video that might be coming out from the Average Angler. All the best. Catch you soon.